philosophers. You can read Habib later, right? I'm not following Habib. I'm just giving an overview of his key ideas, right? Okay. So what is it that makes Freud so very influential today is his understanding of human being and culture and society. He's full of profound insights, and being a human being, he has also a lot of errors, especially in regard to understanding feminine psychology, which made him a kind of target for early feminists. But later feminists actually drew upon Freud substantially, like Julia Kristeva, uh, who would draw upon Lacanian psychoanalysis, and would LGBTQ theorists also would critique Freud, but they would also draw upon Freudian psychoanalysis substantially, right? So he has a kind of powerful legacy in humanities, culture studies, and study of literature and culture. And one of the reasons is what Freud himself said as the third big blow to human ego that he gave. The first big blow to human ego, according to Freud, was given by Copernicus and Galileo, who displaced human being from the center of the universe. And we became a kind of small, insignificant planet on which there is this small, significant animal called man. No longer God's great creation, right? So that was the first huge blow to man's ego, according to Freud. The second important blow, yes, Stavan, you can trace the roots of post-humanism to Freud and others. More appropriately to Nietzsche, his earlier important philosopher, right? But the second blow that he saw was coming from a person called Darwin, right? And Darwin gave a blow to human beings who thought that they were the most beloved and greatest of all animals, right? Or thought that they were made in God's own image. So Darwin pointed out that we were actually made in the image of chimpanzees, who is very close to us genetically, right? Which was a great blow to human ego. So the third great blow, according to Freud, is given by himself. Because what he says that the thinking being, that thinking conscious self, is a kind of tip of iceberg. And entire human life is driven by the side of human self which human being never knows, something called unconscious mind, unconscious psyche, right? So human life is driven not by human beings himself or herself, but by the animal side of him or her, which lies in the unconscious. That is, according to him, Freud's third blow. So human rational thinking self is merely a tip of the iceberg, right? The conscious self, and that and also very weak part of human self, which according to him, man is displaced from his own self, right? This is the third blow that Freud gave. And this theme of displacement of human beings, human subject, becomes an important idea later in structuralism and post-structuralism and post-humanism, also in phenomenology or existentialist phenomenology of Heidegger. And then in 90s with cyborg and other kind of ideas floating and transhumanism coming up in a big way. So you can trace these ideas back to the first blow was by Copernicus or Saloni, by displacing man from the center of the universe, that we are going around the sun and sun is not circling the earth, right? And so we are just one planet, and on that planet one insignificant animal called man. So we are displaced from the universe, from the center of there is a decentering of human beings from center of the universe. And Darwin displaced man on this planet itself. That you are not made in God's image, but you have evolved like all other animals have evolved, and you are none better than other animals. And this was a great blow to Christian idea of man being created in God's image. The third blow is by Freud, which displaces man from his own self. That your self that you understand and know is just one tip of the iceberg. So this gradual decentering of man, right, is an important theme, and it flies in the face of the bourgeois humanism of the West, right, rationalist humanism. So many ideas associated with post-modernity are to be found in Freud, Nietzsche, and others as well, who are actually 19th century and late 19th century, early 20th century philosopher. So let us look at what Freud is saying. Yes, Jelta Saloni, क्या questions है?
Am I audible?
You have to be a bit loud.
Am I audible now?
Better.
Sir, in the third blow that is given by Freud, he is displacing human from his own self, right?
Self. Yeah.
But then before you explain that, he is saying that we are not self, but something that we have in our unconscious mind, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah. So human conscious self, that I who know myself, or Jelta knowing herself, is just a tip of the iceberg. Right? Have you seen the iceberg floating on the ocean? So only one tip, 1/10 of it is visible outside. 9/10 is invisible. And that unconscious self is the driver of your life and my life. That is what he says. So human conscious subject is displaced massively, and for third time, according to Freud.
Yes, sir. I got it. With that example, I understood it better because I was thinking unconscious mind and the self is in a sort of ways the same. Like it exists in the same body, right? So
He
how?
used the word psyche, and psychology. Psyche is human self, right? In the Greek, soul, psyche and soul होता है Greek language में. So psychology was study of human soul in the beginning, and in 20th century the focus shifted towards behavior, and so psychology became behavioral science. Right, conscious mind, subconscious, unconscious. Yes, यही सब. Yes, critique of Kant and Hegel's conception of self-consciousness. Yes. But maybe also incomplete project. He's built, see, he's working within Stavan, German philosophical framework, something that I will discuss. So hold on, I will talk about that. That is where actually I wanted to go. But I'm starting from where he started, right? Instead of going to Kant and Hegel, we will be discussing that definitely, right? But let's begin where he began. Is that okay? Right. So he was a doctor, a medical practitioner, and his primary concerns, his basis of his whole project is treatment of human beings. Saloni, you have a question?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to ask that again, but I missed it because we are in a house right now. And you started with the reason why Freud was so influential. The first one being he had profound insights on human and culture. What were the other reasons, sir? I missed those.
The displacement of
Briefly
human conscious self. आप अपने आप को और मैं अपने आप को जो समझता हूँ, right, is getting more and more displaced from in the world. We realize that we are marginal, peripheral to existence. Unlike the religion which tells you, अरे हमने भगवान ने आपको बनाया है in his own image. That was the blow to human ego, according to Freud.
Okay, so under those we discussed the three great flows, and this was the second reason, and that's all. No third reason, right?
No, we will discuss all those insights. No.
Okay, no, I just wanted to know what I missed. That's all.
So all the ideas that we will discuss how they are important for study of literature and culture, right? So that discussion. So you have to be patient. So by the end of the lecture, you will have most of your questions sorted out. So don't worry. But you have to be means what very often what happens that your questions will be answered in the later part in the context. Otherwise, you won't get what they are.
Right, sir.
Unconscious and not subconscious. Yes, subconscious is not, subconscious is somewhere between conscious and unconscious, right? But unconscious is the primary domain. Conscious is what you have your awareness. But there are regions between these two which can be called subconscious. Aadhe soye hue ho kind of thing, right? Yes, Tavin? They are not the same. Subconscious यानी बहुत कम conscious हो. Unconscious यानी आप कुछ भी नहीं जानते हो. You are not aware and you are not even aware that you are not aware. That is unconscious. There are parts of Stavan which Stavan not only does not know, but he also does not know that he does not know. That is unconscious. Not exactly. Not exactly. I am not sure. वो translations के error हो सकते हैं, but he was quite aware of what he is saying. He is not all that. He is very rigorous in his terminology. Anyway, I think आप लोग आगे बहुत कूद रहे हो. पहले पूरी बात सुनो और बाद में questions. So hold your questions for now, because your questions are coming from as if you know the entire framework, right? So here the entire framework being laid out, and then ask me questions. Is that okay? Stavan, Saloni? Because
yes, sir.
Unless you get that, your questions will be irrelevant, right? So hold on. Yeah. So as a doctor, his primary basis was to cure people of diseases, and that is the fundamental of psychoanalysis. All right. He is not giving a theory of literature. He is not giving a theory of culture primarily, but he does move on towards theory of civilization and culture towards the end. But primary project of Freud, the basis, the foundation is to cure people, right? And to cure people of certain kind of specific diseases, which in those days did not reveal a physical base, right? There were diseases which did not come from germs or virus, or they were not congenital diseases. They were not disease of bacteria, virus, fungi. They were not diseases which were having some physical basis. And those kind of diseases would be something like hysteria, as it was known in those days. Would be when person behaves in certain hysterical manner. Word hysteria comes from hysteria, which has something to do with women's organs like womb and ovary. So people thought that it's connected to women's biological organs, and because it was found more often in women's organs and in women. So hysteria was one, and others would be things like madness into inverted comma, and diseases like tics, right? Like that means, for example, when somebody is speaking, somebody has mannerisms like shaking his legs or biting pens or twirling pen and what, all sorts of those diseases. Some people have some strange habit of, like say for example, washing their hands too often, as in Macbeth, Lady Macbeth. So there are many kinds of behavioral patterns which distress that person and others. And those kind of behavioral patterns did not seem to have a physical base. And so Freud would, what today is called OCD, right, would try to find these in the mental domain, right? So he thought that the basis of all these diseases, or just the etiology of disease कहते हैं. Etiology means what gives rise to that disease. For example, coronavirus से होने वाला COVID is etiology उसकी क्या है? तो viral infection है, right? Malaria का कुछ viral infection is the etiology of that disease, right? So what is the etiology of these diseases or those behavioral pattern which cause a lot of distress to that person and to others, has a mental basis. So he went on to study things like hypnosis and whatnot, but somehow he was unable to find the source of these diseases. So he worked with another doctor called Brewer on trying to find the genesis or etiology of these diseases. And this is where he thought that there are forces within human self which lie beyond the pale of human understanding of one's own self. That means you don't know that there are certain forces working within you which you are not aware of and driving your life, right? Something which is called the unconscious. So the source of these diseases does not lie in your conscious mind that is aware, but mind that is not aware, right? Unconscious. So this idea is one of the revolutionary ideas of psychoanalysis, and its source actually goes back to somebody called Kant. And if you remember, Kant divided the whole existence into noumena and phenomena. Noumena as thing in itself, which you will never understand. Phenomena is something that your faculty of reasoning allows you to know. ऐसा कुछ सुना है आपने? Noumena or phenomena? Have you heard of this idea? Is that idea familiar? Thing in itself. So once you transfer that idea to your own self, then there is one part of yourself which even you don't know. So you will never understand your own self. You will only understand yourself which your faculty of knowing will allow you to know, right? That is the bad news that is inherent in Kant. Taking off from there, another philosopher named Arthur Schopenhauer, right, says that, and Kant, if you remember, locates will or the drive to action, human action, in the domain of noumena. I don't know if you remember. Yes, yes. So there is a noumena of our own self, right? So who we are in itself, we will never know, right? And he puts the source of our action or will in that noumena domain along with God. If you remember, ये सब सुना है? सुना है? So Arthur Schopenhauer takes off from that. Another German philosopher of later generation takes off from that, and he says it's the will that is driving force of human existence and not reason. So entire universe and ourselves, according to Schopenhauer, is not a representation of reason, right, but of will. So world as will as an idea. That's a very famous book by Schopenhauer. And Schopenhauer says that will, right, manifests itself in the form of desire, sexual desire primarily, right? And sexual desire becomes the driving force of human existence. And Schopenhauer sees that this is the cause of suffering. Will is the cause of human suffering. And Schopenhauer was deeply influenced by Buddhism. And so he went on to argue that because life and this desire, which is expression of human will, is cause of suffering, like Buddha says, giving up this will is the only way you can achieve peace in life. So he advocates renunciation of will on the lines of Buddhism, right? And that's why he is called a pessimistic philosopher by some people. Freud does not follow that line, but he does follow that fundamental drive, right? And the word drive in Freud has this relation to link. These drives, according to Freud, is understood more on Darwinian lines rather than on the lines of Schopenhauer, right? For Schopenhauer, this will is a kind of metaphysical force. It's the will of the universe, right? The existence itself. But for Freud, this drive is more to be located in the animal called man. So Freud is actually in some way trying to bring together Darwin and the German idealistic tradition. Not that he does that deliberately, but you can see such, yes. Why is sexual drive given such importance? Is because the future of the species depends on reproduction. Jaldi. In order for a species to survive, it should reproduce.
So,
why do you think coronavirus is spreading like mad? Because it wants to survive and only way it can do is by reproducing, right? Though the way virus reproduces is different from the way we reproduce.
Yes. No, but sir, so the emphasis in Freud was more on reproducing than on survival.
No. But centrality of sexual drive is because of Darwinian reasons of evolution. So he is basing his theory on Darwinian framework, right? But you can see that such ideas are common to German philosophy in Schopenhauer. But you also see in Hegel, he calls consciousness as desire, right? If you remember in the dialectic of master and slave, and the conflict is desire to turn the other into replica of who you are, right? So desire occupies very important place in Hegel as well, if you remember, right? So you can see that Freud is bringing together certain traditions of thought in formulation of his theory, but he is basing it largely on Darwin and biology, right? So he's a kind of Darwinian, you can say that. Okay. So unconscious as a driver of human life goes back to Schopenhauer, and the centrality of sexualities goes back to Schopenhauer as well as Darwin. Will to power abhi nahi aata, wo Nietzsche laata hai, right? Will to power does not feature so much in Freud. It's the central idea on Nietzsche. So don't mix that up, Stavan. Okay. So what causes this disease? वो तो आखिरी तो रह ही जाता है ना, जो सवाल हमने started out with. And he says that there is a mechanism in human self, right, which is called repression. Now repression is second core idea. One is unconscious, second is the instinct and drive, right? Instinct in the sense of instinctual responses to reproduce. For example, a weaver bird builds his nest not because he has learned how to build a nest, but it's instinctual. That is how it builds. So there are instincts in human biology, which lie in the domain of unconscious, and sexual desire is instinctual, and which is a drive, right? And that is also called libido, the energy which is expressed through sexual desire is libido, or will to live, right? So it's more Schopenhauer than in Nietzsche that Freud seems to be closer to. Okay, so these are core ideas. The next core idea is repression.
Excuse me, sir. So can we say here, along with Darwin, he brings this idea of use of sexual pleasure as uh, procreational rather than as it was seen in the romantic era as recreational. Because in the
Hold on,
romantic,
hold on. We'll
okay,
talk about what he thinks about sexuality. Hold on.
okay, I just was trying to connect it to the
So
romantic.
you will connect your dots after you know the framework. So pehle.
Right, right, right.
Right. Okay. So repression is the idea here. And what is repression? Repression is different from suppression. Right? Suppression is you force yourself. For example, आपको चॉकलेट खाने की बहुत इच्छा होती है और आप सप्रेस करते हो, राइट? नहीं खाना चाहिए, मैं मोटा हो जाऊंगा, मोटी हो जाऊंगा, हो जाऊंगी, काइंड ऑफ थिंग. दैट इज सप्रेशन. Repression is not suppression. Repression is a mechanism that works to turn the things that distress you to go into unconscious. You forget them. For example, when you are playing football or a game and you get hurt, right? But then you get so involved in the game that you forget that you are wounded. फिर आप बाहर आके देखते हो तो अरे ये खून निकला हुआ है, राइट? ऐसा हुआ था आपके साथ? That is forgetting, right? So secret of repression is uh, uh, forgetting. Yes, it is will to live, right? So repression is not a forced way to forget. For example, if there are some bad thoughts in your mind, you try to suppress them. That is not what he is talking about. He is talking about mechanism of repression, which converts these thoughts into forgetting. It happens automatically, right? And the problem starts rising, and all the neurosis or those diseases which do not have a physical base, like hysteria, happen when repression fails. The mechanism of repression fails, which means you cannot forget certain things that you should have forgotten, right? In order to survive and have a healthy adult life, you need to forget certain things, and you are unable to forget them, right? And that is what he calls return of the repressed. So repressed material comes back and causes, right, uh, various kinds of mental disorders, behavioral disorders. Is that clear? What is the etiology of these diseases according to Freud is breakdown of machinery of repression. Repression doesn't work very well. It seems to have some problems with which because of which those things that you should have, all of us should have forgotten, we are unable to forget, and they come back. Those conflicts in our past which we should have forgotten, those wounds, right, which may be dried up, we are unable to, and if we keep on concentrating on that wound, we are unable to play that game, right? uh, Please don't go in other directions. Just, I think you should develop habits of listening, Stavan. Be in the conversation. Be in the conversation instead of going all over the place. Right? And repression, according to Freud, is a defense mechanism. By defense mechanism, he means that our ego or our self, German word for self is ego. Ego is not to be understood as ahankar only, right? Ego is self. Latin for self. I'm sorry, not German, Latin for self. Ego. So human self does not like some of the problems that you had in your very, yes, it is similar, Jalta, similar, but not exactly. Forgetting as a defense mechanism is called repression. पर एग्जाम में जो आप भूल जाते हो ना, उसे रिप्रेशन नहीं कहते. समझे जेल्टा? Forgetting as a defense mechanism. So our self does not like some of our memories, right? And you are unable to forget them. And that causes distress for human self, ego. And why is it causing distress? Is because there is one part of your ego which is excessively judgmental about these memories. Something which he calls superego. Superego is a component of yourself, right? Which is judgmental, which is moralistic, which you have imbibed from your civilization, culture, and parental values and upbringing. कि ये बुरा है, चॉकलेट नहीं खानी चाहिए, right? That moralistic self, chocolates are sin, ऐसे सब सुनते हो ना आप. So that moralistic component of yourself is called superego, right? Whose job is to basically pass moral judgments upon yourself and others, which you have derived from your parents' morality, right? So superego does not like these conflicts, and that's why ego has to find some ways of dealing with that memory or conflict of that memory of that conflict that happened in early childhood. So what you can see till now, right? What are the ideas that you have seen? One is the idea of unconscious. Second is idea of repression. Third is idea of ego. Fourth is idea of superego. Fifth is the idea of drives and instincts, right? And the part of yourself which holds this drives and instinct is called id by Freud. Id means it, wo, it, it, right? Ego is I, self. It is that, वो. यानी हमारे अंदर एक वो है जो ये सब desire instincts रखता है. And that is also part of unconscious. So what you see by now is a kind of structure of human psyche, right? Which is divided into ego, superego, id, right? Conscious and unconscious mind, like what should I say? Tip of the iceberg, right? And you have seen the primary mechanism of defense, which is a kind of forgetting in order to survive, have healthy mental life, right? That mechanism is called repression. Now, you may ask, what is it that you are trying to forget, right? ऐसा क्या होता है आपके साथ जो आप भूलना चाहते हो फिर भी भूल नहीं पाते, जिसकी वजह से ये बीमारियां होती है, right? According to Freud, those are memories of your very early childhood conflicts, right? Very early means before the age of 4, you have gone through certain problems, right? Major problems in your life. So some of the most important problems in our life, all of us, are those which we have faced before the age of 4. How does that sound? आप कहोगे नहीं नहीं नहीं, ये कोरोना वायरस की वजह से बहुत बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है, बट सबसे भयंकर प्रॉब्लम आप 4 साल के थे उससे पहले आपने भुगते हैं. नाउ यू में से मुझे कुछ याद नहीं आ रहा है, कितने लोग ऐसा कहोगे? 4-5 साल का था तब कौन से आपके प्रॉब्लम थे, किसको याद नहीं आ रहा है और किसको याद आ रहा है? Biggest problems in your life happened before the age of 4. And how many of you remember those problems? Raise your hands. Jaldi remembers?
No, sir, definitely not. Turns out my
No,
regression
raise your
mechanism.
hand, that's why.
Oh, I didn't know. Sorry.
Okay. Jalta, do you remember? How many of you
Maybe.
remember the problems before the age of 4 or 5? Biggest problems of your life?
So it turns out our regression mechanism is not that bad. It is bad, but not bad.
चलो चलो, आप मेंटली हेल्दी हो, आपको याद नहीं ही आने चाहिए. You should not remember those, right? So unlike many of you, right, there are unfortunate people who are able to remember those problems, and that becomes a source of all distress, especially in these behavioral disorders like neurosis, hysteria, and so on. And what are those problems? And this is where Freud becomes extremely controversial, right? Later on, he says these are the problems of psychosexual development, right? Psychosexual development, your sexual has to be understood in a very broad sense. Sexual does not mean just sexual intercourse, right? Sex is not just sexual intercourse. So what Freud's contribution lies is opening up what we understand as sexual. It's not just sexual intercourse or penetration of male genitalia and female genitalia. No. Sexuality is that drive which seeks pleasure through body. Right? It is libido. It is that life energy which is seeking pleasure through physical through bodies. So he calls it pleasure principle. Right? Sexuality is all behavior that is governed by pleasure principle. Everything that gives us pleasure through our physical domain is classified as sexual. So this is the controversial aspect of Freud's contribution, because he's not limiting sex to intercourse. Right? So this broad understanding of sexuality, and this is where Jaldi was asking me questions about centrality of sexual drive and evolutionary things and procreation and recreation. No, right? So it's not about procreation for that organism, that person. It's all about pleasure, right? Reproduction, and it is the mechanism of nature which ensures that human beings reproduce, right? Human species lives. How will nature ensure? Is by giving a payoff of pleasure to sexual activity. If sexual activity was a chore, right, then nobody would have it. अगर ये बीए की एग्जाम्स जैसी होती सेक्स, तो कोई करता नहीं है, तो रिप्रोडक्शन होता ही नहीं और स्पीशीज खत्म हो जाती. He is talking about pleasure, which is physical and mental, dono. Pleasure, but basically through physical and mental. Pleasure is pleasure, right? Pleasure in watching a film is also pleasure, right? Okay, so pleasure principle is organic. Means as soon as a child is born, he or she starts getting pleasure through various parts of its body. So when a child suckles to its mother after birth, in order to survive, if child does not feed itself on mother's milk, then it's unlikely to survive. So first place from where child gets major pleasure is from mouth. So mouth breast contact is necessary for survival of the species, right? So that oral stage, that is the term Freud uses, is the first important sexual act of human beings, right? You can see the expanded notion of sex here, right? The second stage is when child derives pleasure from excretion, and that is called anal stage, where the child's rectum becomes a site of pleasure, right? If I'm sounding sordid, dirty, then we can't help it, right? The third stage is the phallic stage, or male penis, phallus, where the site is of pleasure. So child touches itself for pleasure, and this is the point where it realizes that it has a rival. Mother is the first sexual love of a child, of irrespective of gender, right? So the first lover in human life is the mother, right? And by the time child reaches phallic stage, it realizes that it has a rival in the form of father. This gives rise to the first big problem of human life according to Freud, before the age of 4 or 5, right? When intense rivalry develops between the infant, the child, mother and father, right? He feels insecure, jealous, envious of father, and desires that father would not exist, right? So this aggression, envy, jealousy is so primary. So the second important emotional experience in our life is jealousy. Jealousy is, and envy is organic. So if somebody says I have never experienced jealousy or envy, is lying usually, right? Is organic. That is the stage. However, the child, and that is another problem with Freud, that he seems to be focusing mainly on male psychosexual development, right? And he seems to imply that women also undergo the same trajectory of psychosexual development, and that is another point where feminists later have attacked him, right? So male child feels threatened by father, right? And this conflict of rivalry and fear is called the Oedipal conflict by Freud, and this has its basis in the great play Oedipal Rex, Oedipus Rex by Sophocles, where Oedipus kills his father by mistake and marries his own mother, right? So he's using myth to point out the first important conflict in the life of a child. But the desire to kill the father, right, has to be suppressed and repressed. Why? Because he's afraid that father might castrate him. That is, cut off the sexual organ, lose the phallus, right? And this fear is what is known as castration anxiety, as Saloni points out. So castration anxiety results in repression and suppression of Oedipal conflict. And then psychosexual development, by the time it goes from male phallus to genital region, there is something called latency period. So you realize your genital sexuality in puberty. So human psychosexual development is diphasic, or biphasic, means up to the age of 5 or 6, you have this awareness and then you forget. It becomes latent and it comes back at the time of puberty and awareness of genital sexual desire, right? At the age of 11, 12, 13. So this biphasic or diphasic psychosexual development, right? So where do these diseases come from? These diseases come from these phases where child had experienced all these conflicts, either Oedipal conflict or oral level of orality, that he has some problems, or at the level of anal stage he has some problems, she has some problems. So all these problems are repressed. They become part of your unconscious mind forever. But in those patients who are unable to deal with their own behavior, right, causing distress, is coming from this return of the repressed through psychosexual development of human being. So this is the origin of diseases, right? And we have seen some of the major ideas of Freud, but many major ideas are left. So which are the major ideas? Because I have to stop by 11:05 or so, because one of our PhD students actually lost her life because of Corona. So we are having a kind of hobbit meet after 5 minutes. So I have only 5 minutes left. So which are the key ideas? We'll just take an overview, and remaining key ideas we'll discuss in some other class. The one is etiology of diseases, right, which do not have physical base. The idea of unconscious and repression, right? Third is structure of psyche, id, ego, superego, conscious, unconscious mind, right? Then we saw psychosexual development and Oedipal conflict, castration anxiety, and pleasure principle, right? These are some of the key ideas of psychoanalysis that we have already seen till now. What we will discuss is how does then Freud try to treat these diseases, कैसे treat करें, कैसे इन conflicts को resolve करें, because we are talking about a period where the psychiatric medicine की research कुछ खास हुई नहीं थी. Or if you look at contemporary psychiatry, then they rely a great deal on medical side of it instead of doing what Freud was doing, right? People don't have time to do what Freud was doing. So Freud did not have medicines for this. So what he did was he devised some ways of curing this. And to what extent he cured is a controversial issue. But he developed a method for treating this. And that method involved three things. And I will stop with that. Right? First is psychiatrist sits and lets person speaks whatever comes to his or her mind, right, without being controlled by logic or reason, something called free association. So on a couch, the patient will lie and keep talking. Psychiatrist will sit behind and take notes. This is the free association. The second method is called dream analysis, right? And we need to look at this in greater detail in the next class. That he will analyze the dreams, because dreams are products which reveal unconscious conflicts, right? Which will help him to locate problem kya hai. That is another technique that he uses. And the third technique is called transference. Transference means the patient develops attachment to the psychiatrist, develops love and attachment for psychiatrist, which psychiatrist uses to cure the patient without getting involved, right? So these are the three methods that he tried. Earlier he tried hypnosis, right? But then he moved over to these three techniques. So psychoanalysis was called talking cure. right? So so Freud's books, some of them are popular, like Interpretation of Dreams. Some of you may have seen that book, right? And many important books. So what is psychoanalysis? Psychoanalysis is a method and an explanation of these diseases, right? Etiology of the disease and ways to cure it, right? It is a branch of psychiatry and psychology. So not to be mixed with psychology and psychiatry, right? Psychiatry is a medical science dealing with mental health. Psychology is study of human mind, but now human behavior. But again, we are going back to mind. बिहेवियरिज्म में क्या हुआ था कि उन्होंने माइंड का आइडिया ही निकाल दिया था साइकोलॉजी में, बट वी आर नाउ गोइंग बैक टू कॉग्निटिव methods, cognitive sciences, neurosciences. So you can see that Freud is just one school of psychiatry and psychology, which has whose appeal has waned over a period of time. So this is etiology of diseases and methods of curing. We will discuss how they are used in study of literature in the next class, right? What is dream analysis? We will discuss that in the next class. Is that clear? So I can take 3 minutes for any questions if you have. Any questions, doubts? We'll also discuss implications of Freud's insights, right? In the later classes.
So just one question. Why are we studying Freud as students of English literature?
तो वही हम next class में discuss करेंगे ना, क्योंकि psychoanalytical approach is a very important approach to study of literature, right? Jacques Lacan, later on Deleuze and Guattari, many feminist thinkers, many Marxist thinkers drew upon ideas of Freud. Very good question, jaldi. Freudian ideas use करके उन्होंने literature study किया, culture study किया. Zizek, for example, very famous psychoanalyst, philosopher. Secondly, almost all major writers, creative writers, novelists, poets, playwrights are influenced by Freud. How does that sound? You talk of D.H. Lawrence or whatever. So because Freud is such a great influence on literature, right, and criticism, because he is changing the way human beings look at themselves, right? And we are students of humanities. That's the broader answer. But more specifically, all 20th century writers are influenced by Freud. Sweeping generalization, but nevertheless has some point. And many major critics are influenced by Freudian approach. And psychoanalytical approach is a very important approach to study of literature. Does that answer your question, Jaldi?
Yes, sir. Although I would need you to like shed a little light, of course, later.
वो तो करने ही वाले, हमने psychoanalytical criticism discuss ही नहीं किया है, हम सिर्फ psychoanalysis discuss कर रहे हैं.
Okay. That is that then.
Right. Any other question? Last one. If you have no question, then we can stop and we will meet. आपको अगर कल परसों free classes है तो मुझे बताना. If possible, I will take it because I have other classes too. But if becomes possible, तो मैं ले लेता हूँ. Sir, will we discuss critique of Kant and Hegel by Freud? No, because Freud did not spend much time offering critique of Kant and Hegel. But what he is saying itself is critique of Kant and Hegel. Man is not driven by reason, rationality, but unconscious. ये एक सेंटेंस में क्रिटिक हो गया. So rationality is overrated. In fact, he uses word rationalization. यानी अंगूर खट्टे हैं, for example, right? Have you heard the story of अंगूर खट्टे हैं? ये हम सब लोगों की कहानी है, अंगूर खट्टे हैं. It is not about fox and the grapes. It is about you and me. हम सब लोग कहते हैं यार that girl or that boy was not good enough for me. That school or that college was not good enough for me, right? It was good, but so that line was not good enough for me. Thank God. So rationalization involves giving rational explanation to things that hurt our egos. So Freud's critique of Kant and Hegel is you can't give centrality to reason in life. So in that sense, Freud is going towards Schopenhauer and Nietzsche and Darwin, right? But deliberately he doesn't draw upon all these ideas. Okay, so let us stop for now and we'll meet in next class. So please tell me the free classes in the group so that I can arrange extra classes. Otherwise, we'll meet on Monday for our regular class, right? So we stop for now because I have to attend another meeting online. So I'm stopping.